Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cuzzy. I'm sitting with Cameron Selby. And today we're going to go over our Underdog season-long props for the NFL season. Super excited about this video. We just released a PrizePicks video in this same format. We're going to go over the ones that we like more on Underdog. Some of them are better numbers. We, want y'all to shop around and do those things. So Underdog gives you some better numbers. They also give you something we talked about last time was they give you flash deals. So you can get in on some flash deals. Right now they have some flash deals for, I believe, like passing yards in week 1. So they're about 3 hours long. So make sure you get on them and when you do get an account.
Yeah, and typically they'll put out the occasional free squares. I expect a week 1 prop to come out pretty soon. With us being less than 3 weeks away from the season, which is so exciting to say. But yeah, the Underdog is one of the best for deposit matches. They deposit match you up to $250. That means if you put in $250 and you're a high roller and you just want to deposit, you got extra money laying around.
Right.
They'll give you $250 to play with. That's $500 to start out something. That's really awesome. And then if you just want to put 25, they'll give you 25. One of the best to do it. And then they also have recently extended to where you can make bigger lines. So you can do up to 8 picks now, which I believe it's over 100x. It's
you can get 100x, I believe.
Yeah, you can get more than that now. Really easy to do. It's really fun to do. And I can tell you right now, we have more than 8 props that we do love. So let's kind of get right into it.
Yeah. So let me pull up the share now. As you can see on the screen, let me make it larger. There we go. Perfect. And then I'm going to look them up because on Underdog, it's not as easy to filter. So our first one that we're going to look at is Travis Etienne. Let me get to him really quick. And you can see him right here on this side. Travis Etienne has a 925.5 rush yard line. That line, I'll put it in, that's over on the other side. That line there is about 25 yards lower on Underdog than it is PrizePicks, which gives us obviously a little bit of a buffer, makes us a little bit more excited, and that's why we're doing it on this site rather than the other.
Yeah, Travis Etienne, it's really hard with running backs. I said this in the PrizePicks video to project injuries. Like you have to kind of filter in a couple games missed with some of these guys because you just never know. With running back, they take more punishment. It's not as projectable, but all of them typically, when you look at lines, if they are healthy, they're going over. It's just baking in the injury factor. Well, with Etienne, he missed his entire rookie season because of a stress fracture in his foot. For the last 2 seasons, he has missed 0 games. And he's been over 1,000 yards both seasons.
Right.
And they did nothing in the offseason to add to this backfield. Tank Bigsby was one of the biggest busts as a handcuff last year. It was a true Travis Etienne show. And despite the offense really sputtering in the second half of the season, he still broke 1,000 yards. And he's the true workhorse running back that's looking for a new contract. That's typically the running backs we love to target because they are usually the ones that break out.
Yeah, and I could see multiple 100-yard games out of him. So this is a pick that I think is pretty safe, especially on Underdog where you get the 25-yard difference. And then the next guy we're going to look at is Zach Moss. We are going with the lower on Zach Moss. He is basically not. I mean, he is the backup to Chase Brown right now. But at the beginning of the year, we thought that he might be the starter coming into this season. And we have a ton of Chase Brown on Underdog. On DraftKings Best Ball because we believed that he could take over the starting job. Well, that happened a lot earlier than we had actually expected. With Zach Moss, he's just kind of riding the coattails of last year, and he's just, I don't know if he's starter caliber in the league. And for 750 yards, I just think that you can kind of take the under and just be happy to not get a starter in the league, basically.
Yeah, with last year was his only year that he went over with this line. Every other year he didn't even break 500 yards. Last year he had 794, but a lot of that he did in the first month of the season when Jonathan Taylor missed because he had multiple 100-yard games. He had great double touchdown games. Right. And then Jonathan Taylor had another stretch in the middle of the season where he got hurt and missed some time. So then he had some more games where he was able to be a true workhorse running back. Well, this year, as long as Chase Brown is healthy, we've already seen to where he's running mostly with the ones.
Right.
And 750 yards, again, if we're talking about a 1B, Cincinnati has never been a team where we're just going to run both running backs 1,000 yards or getting both of them a bunch of touches like a Zeke and Tony Pollard situation. I don't see that here. I see him vulturing touchdowns from Chase Brown, which is why we don't love the touchdown prop as much. But on Underdog, you actually have a higher prop. So if you are picking the under, it's a better value, like we said. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we like the under so much for second loss.
So our next pick here is going to be Javonte Williams. I think this is an absolute smash. I don't understand this line at all. And I actually didn't understand it as much when it was at 625.5 when we started talking about it.
Yes.
It's actually gone up 20 yards. And I'm still like, let's just absolutely smash this line because he is the number one running back for the Denver Broncos. That is, everybody was a little worried because of how reports in camp came out. Things you shouldn't believe that early, basically. He needs 38 yards a game rushing to go over this number. In 17 games, he needs 38 yards a game. So I just don't see, in 16 games, he needs 41. Like, that's nothing, basically, for a starting running back.
His rookie season, he was the 1B to Melvin Gordon.
Right.
If you remember that. Some of the things, it's just like, wow, that really happened. And that was just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But he didn't even lead his team in rushing, and he had 903 yards.
It's just...
Then the next year, he tore his ACL 4 games through. He had 50 yards a game rushing, which obviously 10 yards above pace per game. Then last year, everybody talks about how much he struggled coming back from injury. Obviously, Breece Hall and him had a much different ACL. He had multiple ligaments, so it was tougher. He still played 16 games, and he still had 774 yards.
Right.
So you're telling me this year he's going to dip by over 130 yards?
No way.
When he is healthier now. He has less competition now. And Jaleel McLaughlin, maybe he can be something relevant in the passing game because people want to hype him up. I haven't heard a lick of him
since camp
started.
Yeah, no, I know.
He was the guy that everybody was like, he's going to get all the touches. And even if he does, it's going to be passing game touches. Well, in this, doesn't matter. We have rushing yard props. So the only person that can even come close to diving or eating into this is Audric Estime, which he hasn't really separated himself yet, other than just being the next guy in if he is going to be, obvious rushing situations. It's the easiest number as long as he's healthy. Yep. And he's going to, spoiler alert, this number will be in our 8.
Oh, absolutely. It's not even okay to have him at low. It's kind of disrespectful to his ability because he is such a high profile player when he is healthy. The next guy on the list is going to be T. Higgins at 875.5. We're going to take the over. He is at 900 on PrizePicks, so you get a little bit of a discount, which is great. But yeah, so I just think this is a team that gets, a couple guys that might go over 1,000 yards at receiver. And this is a line that gives you a 125-yard buffer. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, so again, Joe Mixon, he got this with Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd, who had their fair share of touches. Tyler Boyd had about 100 targets a season during his prime and non-injured seasons. Joe Mixon had over 350 touches. Well, in our eyes, for the time being, they downgraded in the slot, so there's less volume to go there. And then at running back, I guarantee you, Chase Brown is not going to even come close to the 300-plus touches that Joe Mixon had, even though we love him. T. Higgins, his first 3 seasons, 900 yards, almost 1,100 yards, and then over 1,000 again. I just think that this is just going to be the T. Higgins and Jamar Chase show, and any line that we love that Cincinnati is going to be playing on a weekly basis, we are going to be double stacking both and feel good about it. 900 yards for a guy in a contract year, it's another one that just feels way, way too low.
Yep, and then we'll go to the next guy here. A guy that actually has been having some weird talks right now, and I want to kind of see what happens. But at the same time, his number's so low that even if he goes to a new team, I'm not that worried about 540.5 yards. Jahan Dotson's been playing out of the slot for Washington. They've been talking about possibly finding their number 2 receiver. I'll tell you what, even if another guy comes in, it still doesn't scare me away from this number, I guess.
Yeah, so this one, obviously we picked this one out right before this. Dan Campbell's still looking for his wide receiver too, and that could be scuttlebutt. Right. Who knows? But the thing is, Washington doesn't have a ton of competition if he does come into his own, succeeded. His first 2 seasons in the worst offense, one of the worst offenses in football, he had 523 yards in just 12 games. So he just missed while also missing 5 games. So he would have hit. And then last year, he missed by 22 yards. So, he has yet to go over this. But if he does kind of inherit a wide receiver 2 by default role and just gets 5-6 targets a game, what is that? Is that less than 40 yards?
32.
32. That's
32 yards.
32 yards a game.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, I just don't. There's no chance that if he does secure that role, the only thing is now, there's scuttlebutt of him maybe losing a grip on this wide receiver 2 role, and maybe it's Yami Brown or Luke McCaffrey, who apparently had a rapport with Jaden Daniels at OTAs. I don't know, but right now I'm just going to pencil him in. He probably won't make our 8-pick prop, but it's a very nice number.
He also played every snap with the ones at slot, and then when they went into 12 personnel, went to the outside receivers. So I'm not that worried about him. As long as he stays healthy, I'm pretty comfortable with that number. The next guy is Kirk Cousins. We're going to take a lower on his 28.5 passing touchdowns. If you look at PrizePicks right now, it is at 27 flat. So you get a 1.5 touchdown discount here, which it makes us feel obviously a lot better. And then also the fact that, you're asking, 29 touchdowns out of Kirk Cousins just feels like way too much on a new team coming off an injury, knew everything. But that's just kind of where we're at.
So here's the thing. Atlanta is basically, they have 3 very talented players at 3 position groups. Obviously, Bijan Robinson. Tyler Algier doesn't count in this passing touchdown because we don't expect anything. He's a 0 in the passing game.
Right.
But then Drake London, obviously, Kyle Pitts. Their wide receiver 2 is Darnell Mooney. They lost Rondell Moore for the season, so now it's Ray McLeod has the edge as the wide receiver 3. There's straight up zeros at every position other than just the top for each of those guys. Drake London in his first 2 seasons combined had 6 touchdowns. Kyle Pitts in his first 3 seasons combined, 6 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson obviously had 4 receiving touchdowns last year, and we expect him to be around the same and maybe a little bit more. If you look at our PrizePicks prop, his total touchdowns at 10.5 was on our 6 pick. There's just no way he hits 29 touchdowns. There's no chance. And if he does, then that means that Kyle Pitts is top 3 at his position, Drake London's top 5 at his position,
right,
and Bijan is top 5 at his position. If you think that is coming true, then sure, go over. But unless you think all 3 are going to smash, not just do well, smash, I just don't see a logical possibility that this actually happens. Well, who is going to get, say you give Drake London and Kyle Pitts career high touchdowns, and they say they each get 8. That would set career highs. That would double their career touchdown totals, right? Where's the other 15 coming from?
Yes.
Where's the other 15? That's 1 per game almost. I just don't see any possibility of way that he comes. And then he's coming off an injury. So all of that, it just doesn't make any sense why it's that high. And it's a number that I really loved. I wanted to point out.
If you are going to pick the Kirk Cousins over here, you should also you should also take all the other guys, and you should expect them to win 11 games. That's they should win 11 games, which I just don't see happening either. The next guy, though, we do expect to go over 28.5 touchdowns. That is, that is the Joe Burrow. Joe Burr, he has got 2 receivers that could both go over 10 touchdowns. We know where those touchdowns are coming from, unlike with Kirk Cousins. We know that Jamar Chase could have 15 touchdowns, and it wouldn't be surprising at 13 in his rookie year. T. Higgins is a very good football player also. And then say they get 22 combined, you only need 7 more rather than the 15 you just talked about from the other guys.
And on top of that, their skill position players outside of their big 2, or big 3 if you want to include Chase, are still much more talented than Atlanta's.
Right.
If you're saying Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod versus Io Sivas, who obviously is a no-name, but is killing it with the ones. He's playing every snap with the slots, and he's inheriting a role that is basically 800 yards a season and 5 touchdowns a season. And then Mike Gesicki, who has had in a non-passing offense, or not an offense that doesn't carry the tight ends, still goes 7 touchdowns. Like, you can paint the picture of where the touchdowns are going. So if Joe Burrow and Kirk Cousins are the same prop, don't tell me that Kirk Cousins is going to be over and Joe Burrow is going to not hit that number.
Well, I think this might be one of my favorite props, this next one coming up as soon as it pops up on the board. The number has changed. Well, that sinks. So we're going to talk about it anyways because we had it on both PrizePicks and Underdog. But the number has changed. Raheem Mostert has gone down to 7.5 rush touchdowns when originally he was at 8.5 right before we got on here. So in the last couple of days, it has changed since we started talking about it. So for Raheem Mostert, he had one of the greatest seasons he's ever had, and we've seen in a long time for a guy that's 31 years old. No matter if they were predominant or not prior to that, and he was not. I just don't see a way that he gets over. Even when it was 8.5, I was very happy because I don't see him going over 6. Now it's a 7.5. I'm still comfortable with that number, but
yeah,
I like the buffer, I guess.
If I would have made a 6 pick on my own, and I'm not, Emery doesn't not like it. We just wanted an optimistic and pick all overs. But if I was just straight up picking my 6 favorite props on PrizePicks, that 10.0 touchdown total for Raheem Mostert would have been on that. Mm-hmm. The rushing touchdowns, obviously, Underdog doesn't offer as many lines yet, but 7.5 touchdowns, he's only hit that one other time, and that was in 2019. He's 32, guys, and he's in a 3-horse committee.
Yes.
And again, like I said, say you give 20 touchdowns to this backfield, which last year I don't remember how many top of my head HN had, but they had 30-ish from the backfield. Say that regresses to 22 to 25. That's optimistic.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You're telling me that he's going to have half of those. I just don't see it. So even if it's a 7.5 rushing touchdown, picking the lower, we feel really good about. Yeah, if you love that number, then you have to also hate Devon Achane.
Right.
You can't be both.
Devon Achane had 8 touchdowns last year.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, that offense just had an insane uptick.
And that was combined touchdowns, right? Not rushing touchdowns.
That was just rushing.
Okay.
No, yeah. That was his rushing touchdowns. He had 11 total touchdowns.
Total.
Yeah.
So complete outlier year.
Yeah.
Don't chase career years from running backs that are 32 now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And committees. Yeah. Don't do that. That's why Jamal Williams was the talk of the town as one of the best handcuffs last year, with Kamara possibly being suspended, just leading the league in rushing touchdowns, and then he did not have one until the final snap of the season.
Yep. By the dip, guys.
Just by the dip.
Yeah, but Jamal Williams, like you said, I mean, just a guy that we saw do crazy things and then have zero. Just nothing to offer. And then the next guy we're going to get into is Nico Collins. We talked about him on our other video and PrizePicks video, but I think he's worth talking about again. 5.5 receiving touchdowns is the same number as PrizePicks. We don't have to go into depth on this, but it is one of the best props on the board. If you believe that, Houston's any good, he is the red zone target, and 5.5 touchdowns. Basically, think of like if say he goes at 6, and then you got 6 from Stephon, and then you get 6 from Tank, because those are where their numbers are. Basically, you're getting 18 touchdowns on a team that's supposed to score the most in the league this year, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, top
doesn't
5
really make sense.
Top 5 projected offense. Their quarterback is projected to have 29, and I expect him to flirt with that number with just those 3 guys.
Right, exactly.
Let alone, the tight end Dalton Schultz, who consistently has 5 to 7, and then Joe Mixon, who is a threat in the passing game, and then the weird touchdowns because Noah Brown had nearly 200-yard games last year. John Mechie is a former second-round pick that's really good. Ben Skoronski was a guy that you loved, and not all of those guys are even going to make the team.
Right.
But all of those guys can contribute in the passing game. Now that I think about it, like CJ Stroud with 29, I don't know what it is on Underdog. I was looking at PrizePicks when I was mentioning that. But yeah, just 6 touchdowns for who you believe is the wide receiver 1 on the offense?
He's going in the top 2 rounds in almost every draft, or top 3 rounds in almost every draft.
You can't go in the first 2 rounds of a draft and then you not being comfortable with him getting 6 touchdowns total, or receiving touchdowns at least.
Right.
Yeah, we feel really good about it.
Let me go see what CJ Stroud's number is. All right, add the U. Come on, there we go. 28.5.
Yeah,
but it's boosted right now.
It's boosted, so everybody's going over. So.
Which makes sense because they should be. It feels like that's just a number that makes a lot of sense. The next guy we're going to talk about is we're going to go ahead and talk about this guy. If I can get that thing to go. He's at 5.5 receiving touchdowns. He's the same on PrizePicks, but at the same time, he just feels too easy to click the over on because of the fact that they have no receivers and Josh Allen is the quarterback. Not that they have no receivers, but they just don't have any defined receivers. Like,
there's a bunch of wide receiver 2s and 3s.
Yeah,
that has no wide receiver 1.
Exactly, and so he has the opportunity to go over this number every time he's also one of the best red zone threats for the team. And so that gives him the opportunity. Also, of course, poaching is a thing, and Josh Allen runs the ball in a lot, but he's still going to throw 28-ish touchdowns, 25 to 30 touchdowns, no problem, right? And so I'm not that worried about 6 of them going to Dalton Kincaid when he could be the number 1 player in the offense.
Yeah, so Dalton Kincaid was frustrating last year just from the red zone perspective because I believe he only had 2 touchdowns on the season. And so, it's kind of hard to just pick that boost, but we love him this year. He is our breakout tight end. He's our tight end 3 overall. His last 2 seasons in college, he had 8 touchdowns each season to end the year. And the by default number 1 option in his own offense, like, you can't tell me 6 touchdowns doesn't feel reasonable. We also in the PrizePicks video talked about Trey McBride, how it was 4.5, and I was just ramming. There's so many guys that have him as a potential breakout tight end 1.
Right.
If you don't have confidence in him having 5 touchdowns, you're not pumping that number, I don't know what to tell you. Difference is on Underdog, Trey McBride doesn't have a passing touchdown prop. Or a receiving touchdown prop. It's just receiving yards. So that's why we didn't mention him like we did in tandem on the PrizePicks video. But yeah, 5.5 touchdowns, way too easy to click on.
Maybe. Come on. I was trying to look up the trade. Yeah, so
it's just receiving yards for now. So obviously that's a tougher number. But again, it's really hard to picture having over 800 yards and not 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't understand that number on PrizePicks. So we're gonna go through and pick our favorite 8. I'm gonna leave them on here just so I don't have to go find them later. But which is your number 1 pick?
I mean, honestly, the ones that you still have in the board, I feel great about those numbers. You have ETN at 925 under Zach Moss. Javonte Williams obviously was going to be in there.
Yeah,
T. Higgins was going to be there.
Yeah.
Jahan and obviously Kirk, I want in there.
Yes.
Joe Burrow is fine being in there. If you wanted to find one to replace
Jahan,
I'd probably feel a little better. But again, it's only 32 yards a game. So what are you thinking? Since that one was one that you love.
Yeah, we can take that one out. Let me try to get it out of there. Come on now. Oh, there it goes. Okay, cool. So we will use, let me see what we have here. One we didn't talk about, that we could do the, it's under 7.5 now for Raheem Mostert.
Yeah.
Let's do JSN again.
JSN?
Yeah, okay. We talked about...
Because it's the same.
It's this, yeah. So we didn't talk about JSN on this one because we talked about him on the other PrizePicks one, but his line right now is at 775.5 receiving yards. And we talked about it on the other. They're going to be in a lot of three receiver sets. They're going to be getting the ball. He's a target hog when he's on the field. I mean, he had 93 targets. He played like 60% of the snaps. So if that tells you anything about what he'll do when he's on the field, 775 yards is, let's see, I got it right here. He needs 46-ish per game. I just think that number is way too low.
Yeah, and again, Tyler Lockett the last 6 seasons has had, his worst season was 894 yards. And we expect them at the very worst to be flipping rolls now that Tyler Lockett is 32. On top of that, JSN is in 2 receiver sets now, which is big because that was kind of the big reason why his ceiling was capped last year. And he's still in a floor season, which is where he's being drafted right now. which is why we've been pumping him so much. We just are all in on him this year. So, yeah, that is a great number to include in our 8 pick.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable with the Jahan Dotson, that's a number that I like. And then so if you want to look at our 8 pick, I think we can make this bigger. Oh no, that's just for the amount. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna scroll through and look at everybody.
Did we put in Nico?
Did we?
Maybe we did not.
Oh.
Do you obviously Nico was in our 6th pick, so do you want to replace him with one of these?
I think Zach Moss is my least favorite.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll be pessimistic again other than Kirk Cousins, but that one's one of my favorites. So
let's take Zach Moss off and put Nico.
In the event that
Why did Javonte go up there? Hello, Javonte. Yeah, I think Zach Moss's is just nerve-wracking because Chase Brown has had injuries, but otherwise, I'm not.
And we've seen backfields like in tandem both go over 700 yards before. Like we said with Javonte in his rookie season, he had 900, and a aging Melvin Gordon had 918.
Right.
So, it's possible that we can still fade him and him still not be a great and still hit that number.
Yeah.
So Nico, again, he was in our 6th pick. So I'm glad I caught that before we submitted because that's one of our favorite smashes.
Easy number. So Nico at 5.5, JSN over 776 receiving yards, Dalton Kincaid over 5.5 touchdowns, Joe Burrow over 28.5 passing touchdowns, Kurt under, our only under, which we love to see actually, is 28.5. Unders are sharper. We talk about that every year, is that unders are a lot sharper, but they're not as much fun. So if you want to have fun, this is kind of more of a fun lineup. T. Higgins over 876. Javonte rushing yards is embarrassing at 646, and we're going to go over that. And then Travis Etienne is going to have a career year. So let's lock that in. Let's see. Come on. Entry fees.
Okay, and so again, with you can on 8 picks do standard, which standard is you get them all, and if you get one wrong, you're dead. With flex, obviously there's incentive to play because you can have buffer. So like if we get 7 out of 8, we still almost 3x. We basically get our money back if we get 6 right. But we're going 8 for 8. So
yeah, we are.
How much are you wanting to put in on this one?
I don't care. However much. We can do 20.
Let's do 20.
Yeah, we did 20 on the other one. So
yeah, that would be a big $1,500 pretty payout.
Yep. I think that makes a lot of sense.
And I'm not even nervous about it.
No, exactly. Like,
obviously, if one goes under, it's probably because of an injury, but I just don't see healthy-wise any of those even coming close to not hitting.
No way. So, yeah, that's our 8 pick. Those are our picks. I can't submit it because the submission is down underneath, and I can't get down there.
We'll put it in, but yeah, that's our 8 pick. Again, we're going to do a video at the end of the season where we review, again, we've been pumping best ball. We're going to be doing our results there. We're going to be doing season prop, season long, how we did and all that good stuff. It's a lot of fun. We appreciate you guys tuning in. I want to know what your guys' prop that stands out. If you do have an Underdog or a PrizePicks account, what is the one that you're just smashing? Maybe it's something that you can convince us on to put some money into.
Right. I think also, guys, if you go in the Discord and you get in there, we're going to be talking about these props all year, not just the ones that we're doing for season long, but weekly. We're going to also have videos for weekly, but we're going to talk a lot about much more than that, more in depth, have conversations, see other people's favorites. If you want to become part of that, it's in the description below, along with the fact that if you do not have an Underdog or PrizePicks account, you can sign up with our code at the bottom. That will give you on Underdog, it's a $250 deposit match. So if you put $250 in and you use our referral code, you will get $250 back. Or if you use $100, you would get $100 back. With the same thing with PrizePicks, I don't remember what the promotion is.
Right now their promo, which they've done deposit matches before and they do other discounts and whatnot. They have right now, you play a $5 line, you instantly get $50 to play with. So even if you just want to put in 5, you get 50. So that's even bigger of a 100% match on their end. And it's a whole lot of fun. A lot of them offer discounts. There's Taco Tuesdays, there's Friday Flexes, there's flash discounts on Underdog, there's free squares all around. Whole lot of fun. We are on these platforms all the time, and we're going to be talking about both as much as possible going forward, especially during the season.
Yep, absolutely. So please get in the Discord and come hang out with us. And if you haven't liked, commented, or subscribed, do that also. And we will see you all next time.
See you on the next one.